Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings. Today we are discussing power together as our continuing discussion of power to the people for the month of October. And so this week, our specific focus shifts from individual or personal power to embracing the transformative potential of collective power. And there are numerous examples that illustrate the strength that comes in numbers, the strength of people coming together in unity. When there is a gathering of like minds with shared vision, mission, and purpose, collaborating with a common goal, a common vision allows us to recognize the profound benefits of working together as one cohesive force that is life affirming for the good of all. Human interactions inevitably invite a diversity of opinions and ideas. We are not all required to agree on everything all the time. Even though we are unified to a common vision, mission, and purpose, doesn't mean we are all bound to have the exact same cookie cutter ideas, beliefs, etc. Inevitably, there is going to be a diverse experience when we come together, which presents us with an opportunity for greater authenticity, transparency, and empowerment. We are invited to contemplate how can we both empower others and be empowered ourselves throughout this entire dynamic purpose and process and practice. As we come together and unite around this common vision, mission, and purpose, what flourishes is a sense of community, camaraderie, fellowship, and it offers the vital support and connection that the beloved community is based on and founded on. It's how it functions and thrives. This shared commitment softens the boundaries that separate us and isolate us, that force us to go into the space of ours and theirs, us and you all. It softens those walls and those boundaries and builds greater strength in bridges and connections. It fosters a deeper understanding of ourselves and of others, of community, and even those who are not in community. It helps us to foster a greater understanding of all of our fellow beings, all of the ways that God shows up in this thing called life. And it is through our collective power that we discover, that we embody the beauty of collaboration, celebrating the vast richness of our unique perspective while continuing to work harmoniously with one another to co-create a reality, to co-create an experience that is filled with compassion, evolution, growth, and life-affirming transformation. Community. How does our communication build and express the beloved community. If I were to ask you, how do you define, what is your definition of community? What would you say? Is community based on those who always think the same, eat the same, look the same, shop the same, live in the same cul-de-sac, on the same street, root for the same football team? Or is there a vastness of community that reflects our intersectionalities? Can I be a member of the New Thought community while also being a member of the comic book, Marvel Cinematic, sci-fi community? Can I do both? Or do I have to separate and segregate myself and be a part of one community? If we are creating the beloved community, then we are invited to be multi-community oriented, recognizing that there is a vastness to how we can show up, a vastness to what community means in how it shows up. And we get to be a part of all of that. There is one global community, the community of humanity. How are we interacting within that? If I were to ask you once again, how many people do you consider friends who are different than you? Maybe a different race, a different ethnicity, a different gender, a different sexual orientation, a different socioeconomic stratosphere, a different political affiliation, a different religious path or spiritual path? Do we connect with people? And even if we can say, well, I don't have any friends who are LGBTQ, ask yourself then, am I willing to interact in community with individuals from that specific group? Even if we may not be friends, depending on where we live, there may not be a huge, it's not like we live, in Manhattan where there's an abundance of LGBTQ folks. We may live somewhere where there's exactly 5,000 people in my small town, and I don't know if there's any gay people here. So you may not have any gay friends, LGBTQ friends, but are you willing to? Are you open enough to expand into, I am willing to open my arms, open my mind, open my heart, open my being to a greater understanding and practice of community? Are you? And breathe. Matthew 18, verses 19 and 20. Again, I tell you truly that if two of you on the earth agree about anything that you ask for, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For where 2 and 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am with them. These words are attributed to Yeshua, the Christ, Jesus. What is he saying, though? Especially in terms of, what does this have to do with us? What does it have to do with community? Well, clearly, where 2 or 3 gather, that's a starting place. Where 2 or 3 agree about anything and gather. But we're going to remix this nonetheless. So our remix says, again, I tell you the truth that if two of you truly agree and work together about anything you desire to experience, it is far more likely to occur because of how the creative process works. So again, I reiterate that when two or three gather together in cooperation, gather together in collaboration, gather together in co-creation, in the nature of the desired thing, and in the principle of truth, the power is there. So think of it like a magnifying glass that takes all of the radiant light from the sun, and the magnifying glass fine tunes it right there. The power is. When we come together of like mind, working together for a common world that works for all, life affirming experience, and we are engaging the actual practices of, then we are increasing not just the possibility that that will be experienced, but it becomes the probability that it will be experienced. And if we keep doing the work, keep practicing the practice, then it becomes an inevitability. So if we want a world that works for all, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Not the way things are being done at present. It's not probable. Certainly isn't inevitable yet. But therein is our invitation. How do you come together with two and more people in the nature of a world that works for all? When do you and two or three other people come together in the nature of beloved community, equity, and justice? How often do you gather with people who have a common vision, mission, and purpose, and you are all practicing together, collaborating together, co-creating together to make that, whatever it is, a lived experience? In the great experiment of this thing we call the United States of America, that group of men, that group of white men who gathered and crafted a certain document where the preamble begins with, "We the people." Now, that right there, we the people. But when they were speaking, they were referencing a specific group of people, not everybody. So our invitation is to we the people 4.0. What does it mean? We the people of a world that works for all, et cetera, et cetera. More about that later. But how are each of us coming together as the people of a world that works for all? Even now, not just then, because then is built in the now. What is the invitation? To collaborate. Well, even before that, do we communicate in a way where we, the people of a world that works for all, communicate in this way, come together and gather in this way, cooperate, collaborate, co-create? Purpose of experiencing a world that works for all. Something within us individually and something within us collectively has to change, has to evolve, has to shift. Dr. Holmes says, when you say all things are possible, you mean that the power which created the planet is right now operating in your affairs. operating in your life right now, operating in and through everything you do. But do you see it? Is that your experience? Especially when we turn on the news and listen to what's going on in the world. All things are possible, peace. But there's war, prosperity and abundance, but there's poverty, and there are so many people who are unhoused, and so many who are addicted to any number of drugs, so many people who have a fetish for weapons, guns, violence. How do we breathe? And let's remix. Ready? All things are possible means that the power which created and continues to create is operating throughout all of creation right now. And this must include your life, your affairs, and in truth, in, through, and as everything that you are and everything that you do. How are you invited to consciously connect and use this power? That's the question. That which is. It's all that there is. So that means the power that it is the same power that you are, and the same power that gives you the ability to operate, live, move, and have your beingness as you do. But are you doing so consciously in order to shift whatever your experience is? Now, there are certain things that occur, and we can do nothing about that specific thing. Once I was diagnosed with cancer, there was nothing I can't just magic frosted lucky charm. Like, there's nothing I can do to magically turn back the time so that it is what it is. But the question is, even with those words, is it possible for me to continue to live, move, and have my beingness, knowing that in the absolute, the truth of my being is wholeness, perfection, and completeness, no matter what? And in knowing this truth, with the diagnosis, does it change how I show up and then move through my healing? Ideally, it should. And in fact, it did. When we know the truth, when you know the truth, it sets you free. It sets you free to be able to take what comes, evolve, shift, change, even in the midst of the grief, the frustration, the anger, the whatever it is, and we still get to live, move, and have our beingness from the position, from the place of power, knowing that power, what we're talking about, is God power, or the power that is God. And in consciously connecting to that truth and using that power, our experiences change. So we the people, okay, I want to remix this though to be more in alignment with what we are talking about with a world that works for all. We the people of the United States, in order to create a world that works for all, establish the practices of equity, establish the practices of equality, equity, and justice to ensure domestic and international peace, harmony, and tranquility, to provide effective resources, be that food, shelter, medical care, and education, promote and provide the means for the wellness and health for all, including the planet itself, and secure the blessings of liberation and liberty to one another now and for all future generations. Do ordain and evoke the establishment of this Constitution by the United States of America in the consciousness of oneness and wholeness, knowing none are free unless we are all free. Are we willing to collectively gather with this as our common vision, mission, and purpose to manifest, to practice? For the sake of conversation, if you are, where is your invitation within these words to embody something new? What is your invitation to change how you speak, to deconstruct some belief and erect a new belief and paradigm of consciousness so that this becomes the mantra of how you show up in the world? If you are planning to create a world that works for all, do you live, move, and have your beingness based upon equality, equity, and justice? How are you invited to demonstrate both domestic and international peace, harmony, and tranquility? So I invite you to come back to this slide and just check in. Is there something in here? Maybe a certain phrase doesn't work for you, but are you willing to retweak it, rework it so it does work for you, so that you can come together in a group of like-minded individuals to be we the people of a world that works for all? Our difficulty lies not so much in contradicting this truth as in cultivating an inner awareness, a deep spiritual realization that we are one with all the presence and all the power that there is. And let's swap out for a moment the word. A deep spiritual realization that we are one with all that God is, knowing that what is true of God is true of us, because that which God is all that there is. How are we invited to cultivate that spiritual awareness and that deep spiritual realization and embody it and then live it? If you know this and you believe it and you are living it, does it change how you engage in conversation? Does it change in how you shop? Does it change what something should shift? What is it? What are you invited to shift? Dr. Holmes goes on. We have conscious access to a creative power which is ready, willing, and able to respond to us constructively. Our conscious and specific use of it is limited to our awareness or understanding of it. Now there are a bunch of things we could say about this. Lots, lots. And actually, hold on, before we go there, let's go ahead and say the things. We have conscious access to a creative power which is always responding to us. It's always responding to us. That which is the law doesn't say, well, today I will respond to what Ray is thinking, meditating, and praying, but tomorrow I will not. It is always our invitation is to make conscious access of it. For example, an ink pen is always ready, quote unquote, ready, willing, and able to respond to the act of writing. It's always ready, willing, and able because it does what it does. But I have to consciously choose to pick it up, to get paper, to put pen to paper, and to allow the words to flow from my consciousness, brain, electrical impulses to hand, to form letters, and letters that form words, and words that form sentences as symbolic representation of ideas. Because if I write the word cat is not a cat. It is a symbolic representation of. But it's, this thing, life, is always responding to us. And based upon how we are utilizing it, determines if it's life affirming, non life affirming, if it's constructive or destructive. And keep in mind that sometimes, because we vilify, that which is being destructed isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? For example, back in, I think it was August 19th. Bathroom renovations were being done here at the house. And day one was the demolition of the bathroom. They had to demolish. They had to destruct or deconstruct the bathroom as it was in order to create what it was to be, which it's still in the process. It's pretty much close to being done. Close. So deconstruction or demolition or destruction isn't always a bad thing. It's not always non-life affirming. Sometimes it is life affirming to deconstruct, to demolish, to destroy something in order to consciously, in a life affirming manner, build that which is to be a world that works for all, a bathroom that works for me, etc. Now, for a moment, something, I don't think I've talked about this in a long time. Generally within New Thought, there's this concept of the four kingdoms. And, Game of Thrones is a great example of how kingdoms, quote unquote, the concept of kingdom, operate. Oftentimes, the kingdoms operate in a form of us versus them, you versus me, etc. But when the kingdoms can evolve and work together for a common good, then there is peacefulness. Just like in the realm of Game of Thrones, when people from various kingdoms came together to fight those frozen zombies from way up north, beyond the wall. they were able to restore a new level of peacefulness. Now, for our conversation, let's dive into what it means to have a different understanding of the four kingdoms. And this may be absolutely new for you. So, the four kingdoms is basically an analogy or a parable, symbolic representation of certain things. So, in kingdom number one, our consciousness is life is happening to me. We generally engage in toxic behaviors, we blame others, and generally it is a consciousness of victimhood. Kingdom two, life is happening by me. We engage in a lot of self help practices. We believe in the idea of pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We manifest parking spaces and green lights and such. Kingdom three is life is happening through me. We engage in self care practices. We understand that we are connected to a higher power. We may believe that we are a vessel for spirit. And then kingdom four, life is happening as me. It's very similar. God moves through me. God moves as me. Not just connected to a higher power. I am the embodiment of the higher power. But our invitation is to move to a fifth kingdom, which is more akin to a kingdom, the working together of life is happening as we. We understand that none are free until all are free. We work within the systemic collective to create a world that works for all. There's greater access of unity consciousness and collaborative practices of community. Breathe. So within the space of these five kingdoms, our invitation is to check in and which kingdom am I in? Which kingdom do I predominantly operate from? To inspire people, don't show them your superpowers, show them theirs. How do you remind others of their own divinity? How do you remind them of their own self-worth? How do you share with them their own beauty and magnificence? How do you lift others up? That's what we do in the fifth kingdom. That's what it means to be in beloved community. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Some things we can control and others we cannot. The serenity prayer. If I can change it, give me the strength, the power, the conviction to change it. If I cannot change it, then give me the strength, the power, the conviction to change me regarding it. And whatever is going on in the world, when I change me regarding it, then it changes how I show up. And when enough of us change how we show up, it changes the thing. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world, because in fact, that is the only thing that ever has. Are we a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals who believe, who embody a world that works for all in order to change it? Are we willing to sacrifice the old paradigms, beliefs, etc., for the new. Dr. King gave a speech called Keep On Moving, and in the speech, he referenced the number of people who have been jailed and jailed for the purpose and whatnot. And he reminds us and said, there are approximately 2,500 people in jail right now. Now, let me say this. The thing that we are challenged to do is keep this movement moving. There is power in unity consciousness, and there is power in numbers. As long as we keep moving like we are moving, which where we are now, I think our invitation is to move differently, to move in a different, more expanded awareness, to keep that power of a world that works for all as the driving force. Dr. David Alexander offers in his book, he says, community is an inherent element of spiritual development. I think it's time it's added to that model. It's time for a fifth realm as we. The fifth kingdom of consciousness is where our personal enlightenment leads us to the collective, to the allness of God as humanity. The fifth realm of consciousness seeks to apply the principles and practices gained in the struggle to break out of victim thinking and live in a deeper mystical awareness, even if briefly, to the whole of society as an affirmation of our awareness of our oneness. Gone is any sense of, I got my enlightenment, you get yours. And in its place is a sincere desire to serve humanity in very specific, measurable, and tangible ways. Breathe. Living as a way of life that uses all that the science of mind and spirit offers is also to practice a new thought liberation theology as a way of life. Through the practice and the active embodiment of it, we not only discover what the beloved community means, we take the required life-affirming actions to create it, to nurture it, to sustain it, to defend it. Yes, there is power in numbers, but what is key for us to remember is that this group power is because of the power of oneness, spirit. And it is that power, which is our true power, that we are called to tap into, to embody, and to use in order to heal the world and to create a world that works for all. Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, say it with me the second time around. Together, we empower each other for the greater good. Together. Together, we empower each other for the greater good. So it is. This week's Thursday night study questions or your own personal journal questions. Number one, how am I invited to join in power with others, with another? What are some organizations that I belong to that are a demonstration of combined vision, mission, work,
purpose? Number 2, what relationships am I invited to heal in order to unblock my ability to work with others? If I were to rewrite without jargon the preamble of the Constitution using what I understand of science of mind and spirit, how might I write the first few lines? If you're not sure what the preamble, like, get it out, go Google it. Siri, show me the preamble, tell me the preamble to the Constitution. The preamble to the Constitution says, like, do what you need to do, get it, and then look at it. Science of mind and spirit, how do I rewrite this? And then how do I embody it and live it? Number 4, what does empowerment mean to me? And how might we practice empowerment more consciously in our community, in our family, in our world? And then lastly, what is my vision for the SIA community? What is my vision for the CSL community? What is my vision for the New Thought community? What is my vision for, pick, the LGBTQ community? Pick whatever it is. What is my vision for whatever community that you belong to? Do you belong to you're an educator and there's a community of educators that you belong to? What is your vision for that community? You're a school teacher. What is your vision for your school, your college or university? The community where you work. What is your vision? Breathe as we enter into that space of absolute knowing, that space of prayer where we consciously right now align with the power, the goodness that is all that there is. That there is no way for that which it is to give more of itself to us. It is us. And just like I can't give myself more Ray is it's what I'm called, but I can't give myself more of myself. I simply am me, but I can embody that understanding. I can embody how I define myself, which shows up as I define myself as an artist, and I can allot myself more time to create, to draw, to paint. I can grant myself the capacity to be in action that which I am. I define myself as an educator, then I can give of myself to more and more and more opportunities to educate, to teach, to engage. But that which I am is that which I am, and there is no more or less of it to give or to receive or to not be. I simply am. Simply am. And what is true for me is true for everyone watching now. We simply are. That which is the sun doesn't give sunlight. The sun shines. And sunshine is a natural byproduct of it being what it is being. It cannot give more than what it is. And what it is, and what we are, is God, Source, Spirit, plain and simple. And when we come together from this awareness, and we practice it, and live it, and move, and have our beingness in it, through it, and as it, then we, the beloved community, change and transform the world. We, the beloved community, right here and right now, create a world that works for all. We consciously access our power. And in doing so, our behavior, our words, our actions are a beautiful and magnificent demonstration of exactly that. The law says yes, the law does what it does, it acts accordingly, and all of creation moves and shifts and changes and transforms for these words, this prayer, the amen that our life is, to show up, to manifest. Because that's what is, and it is right now, answered prayer. And so it is. Namaste and blessings. So you know the drill. Check the chat to see if we are in fact meeting for fellowship. If so, see you there. If not, see you sometime during the week. Much love and appreciation. Blessings.